Thank you for being so punctual, for being here, for taking some time to come and learn with us about our solar solutions. We know that these solutions are absolutely amazing and they come very handy when, we have some people that all of a sudden require some cameras on a place where, wiring it's very hard, or it just can get very expensive, or it's just simply impossible. And so we started working with these solutions to give you guys an easy to use, easy to assemble, and easy to operate solution. And, to be able to get and reach for more customers out there. And so I will be talking about our solar and 4G LTE solutions today. As you know, these solutions can be used in two different scenarios, and I'll be going over that information as we move on. All right, I see that there's a few people still coming in, so we'll just I'll let you handle the admissions code, okay? So that I can start moving on to the presentation.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
All right, so I wanted to show you here. Oops, there you go. We have three different types of solar solutions, and we know that sometimes when people hear the word solar, it's either they start thinking of a lot of money or huge solutions, or there might be a little skeptical on how to use them. But these panels that we have, they're very small. They're about 21 by 27 inches. So like I mentioned before, they're very easy to operate and to handle. They provide 12-volt DC, as most of our equipment is 12-volt DC. So they're pretty much easy and equipped to be able to feed the power to the equipment that we recommend to use these panels with. So these are the two small solutions. We have the TD-SB35. This is our single panel unit. And then we have the TD-SB80, which is a double panel unit. And then we have a much...
Ale, sorry to interrupt, but
yes.
I don't know if you guys are seeing the screen complete.
Okay.
It seems like for some reason the screen is zoomed in and we're only seeing part of it.
Okay, let me do something.
There it is.
Okay, just tell me, what about there?
No, still incomplete. Maybe you would like to leave it.
Just as here?
No, you're getting there.
Let's see. No, this
is... Yeah, zoom out. No, it's just on one side though. There it is.
There we go.
Yeah, that's it.
To the next screen.
Yeah. So I guess we missed panel TD-SB35.
Okay. So going back then, these are the smaller solutions that we have. This is the TD-SB35, which is the single panel unit. And we have a TD-SB80, which is a double panel unit, and it's basically having twice of the single. So right there. And this is the TD-MTT, which is our mobile tower unit. This is a much bigger solution for completely remote locations, and we'll go over the details. But, just wanted to show you the three different for the different types of solutions that you might have. Right. And so showing you a little bit of what the TD-SB35 is. So this is a single panel, as I mentioned. It's an ultra wide textured tempered glass solar panel. It comes equipped with a lithium-ion battery that it's going to be located right in the arm where you see the Toughdog board. That battery, it's inside that arm. All right. And then those batteries will give you, 3 to 5 years with no problem. They're going to last a really, really good long time. It comes with an on and off operation switch right there underneath the panel. And then it's got the micro controller unit that it's going to show you the battery life, and it's going to show you the charge of the battery level, and the load. And this is just an example on, you know, of how it's already, how it looks when it's already being assembled and installed on a pole. And this is just want to say real quick for illustration purposes. The on and off operation switch, it comes very handy when you're gonna set this up on a location that you think that, or that you know that you're gonna move to another place. You can just turn it off whenever you need to get it off that pole and take it to another location. And then once you install it, you need to turn it on again and, you know, just set it up whatever you need it. Then we move on to the TDSB 85. This would be two single panels together. Got them right there. It also has its lithium battery. On this one, it's gonna be right there on the side, as you can see that like bronze gold box in there on the side. The battery is in there. The battery, of course, for this double panel, it's a lot bigger, so we weren't able to put it inside the arm. So it's gonna be right there exposed to the side. It also has its on and off operation switch. And it also has the microcontroller unit for the same purpose of what I explained earlier for the single panel. All right. Now, there are different scenarios on how we want to use these panels. They can be used for remote locations and not so remote locations. So what I mean by that, it's that they can be used with their point-to-point antennas that require no computer configuration. I'll go over a little bit on that because we already had a presentation last week on how the point-to-point antennas work. But they can use with that for not so remote locations. Let's say, for example, you have a customer that let's think of a gated community. And so all of a sudden that customer wants to add a camera on the gate. And so you can easily put one of these, install it with the point-to-point antenna to transmit the data from that main building and set your camera up in there with no problem. And so the way that we normally do the calculation of how many cameras
Is it just me or we lost Alejandra?
I lost Alejandra too.
Okay, no problem. So I guess that I could pick up while she comes back. The way to calculate, oh, but we lost the presentation too.
I am here. I'm sorry about that. Something happened.
Okay, well, we're good to have you back. Yeah. All right.
All right, let me go back to sharing. And if you don't mind telling me, where did I left off?
Well, you were about to explain how to calculate the number of cameras per panel. And also, before you go further, one of the things I wanted to say too is that the double solar panel also comes with a NEMA box, so that you can make all your your connections inside. So one of the things also to keep in mind is these panels are already pushing out 12 volts DC, okay? So since the majority of our equipment is 12 volt DC, we made it that way so that it could be compatible with it. And you just need to basically split or have a splitter from the tail that's coming out of the panels to the amount of devices that you're going to be connecting, okay? Which Alejandra will show you next how to calculate how many devices can you connect. But we also have a regular switch for the double panel, just in case you need to connect 2, 3, 4 devices to it, okay? So that you can connect them to a regular 12 volt DC switch. It's not going to be PoE. You're gonna have to connect the cameras with a 12 volt DC power, and everything that you need to do, all your connections that you need to do, you can actually make them inside of that NEMA box that the unit comes with, okay? So let us know if you have a question regarding that, or if you have questions, as Alejandra keeps on going, so that we can answer those. But also, you're free to ask questions in the chat. Okay, we're going to be monitoring that, and also at the end of the presentation, we will have a sessions of Q's and A's in case that you want to wait until then. But okay, so go ahead, Alejandra, on how to calculate the number of cameras.
Yes, and basically what Jorge was saying, so the panels come with the pigtail. As you can see right here on this drawing, there's the pigtail, like, and there where you plug in if it's just going to be a one camera deal. You can use that from that pigtail, like he was saying, if you're going to be installing more equipment. As for example, let me go back on this slide right here. So right here, there was a need to use a splitter to be able to feed power to the camera and then the antenna. Okay, so of course here that would be the case. I'll show you in a little, in a few of the next slides, I'll show you where would be the scenario where you can only use one camera. For the double panel, same thing. You'll split your pigtail, because the double panel, it's meant to be used for, you can do maybe like 2 or 3 cameras depending on the calculation, which I'll show you later, and then the switch and all that just Jorge just said. But okay, moving forward right here. So basically, to be able to understand and calculate the number of the cameras that you're going to be using for each panel, we have to go into the specs of the camera and find out what is the wattage consumption of that camera. On each of the specs, you're going to get the wattage consumption per hour. So we got to multiply that by 24 and make sure, if we're using the single panel, that we do not exceed 300 watts. And why is it 300 watts? So each of the panels, it's a 6 watt per hour, what it can do. So
60.
60, I'm sorry, yeah, 60 watts per hour. And what we did is we calculated the 300 because we are considering the lowest daylight in our area, which would be on the winter, which is like a 5-hour day. So we got to consider that, because mostly during the summer, you're not going to have any problem if you were to exceed it. But we want to keep it safe and make sure that it's going to last and give you, a good performance through the year. So we got to stick in that 5-hour period. On the double panel, it's going to be 2 60 watt per hour panel. So it's just double the amount. So that's why it's got to be 600. And on this one, you're going to be considering the camera's wattage consumption. You're going to be using also the antenna's wattage consumption, the switch wattage consumption, and everything that you're going to be using to be able to allow the panels perform. And that is why one of the things that Jorge was mentioning about all the equipment being 12 volt DC is very important, because otherwise you would have to use a converter, and it's just going to take much more of what the panel can do. So if you're able, like if you're in the situation where you need some help on doing the calculations, you can let us know, and we'll be more than happy to assist you going over, all the equipment that needs to be used. And so this is an example for the single panel. Remember, the single panel, we're going to be going to up to 300 watts per day. So let's say we take this camera that we know that takes about 7.2 watts per hour. Multiplying it by 24, we get 172.8 watts per day. And we got to add the antenna, that this one requires very low consumption. So it's only 3 watts. It's going to give us a total of 72 watts per day. And adding them up, we get 245 watts per day. So we know that these 2 pieces of equipment are perfect to be used on a single panel. All right. And then obviously, if you want a couple cameras, we would immediately know that we would exceed the single panel capacity. So we would have to jump into a double panel and add on the network switch and, you know, a lot more of the equipment that you might be needing. But this is just so that you can get an idea on how the calculations are done. All right. The TDP2PX. Why am I putting this in this presentation? Because this is the antenna, the point-to-point that we use for the solar panels. And why this specific one? Because this is a 12-volt unit as well. And since, like we mentioned earlier, we need to make sure that all the equipment that we use on these panels, it's going to be 12 volts. This is just the perfect equipment to be used for that. Works really nice as an access point to be able to help you to transmit the data from that main building into the location that you're going to be setting your solar panels at. It's got a 1 kilometer transmission rate. So we're looking at about 0.7 miles, give or take. And it's, you know, it's got the 100 megabytes transmission. It's the solar solution ready. And it also has a 24 volt PoE injector. So basically, when you're setting this up, you're going to have a set of antennas, one for the panel that you're going to be powering through the 12 volt DC from the panel. And on the other end, on your main building, you're going to be using the 12 volt injector, that it's going to be part of that for you to be able to use it on your main building. All right. How to use them. Terry showed us a little bit of the configuration. Like I've mentioned before, this is a non-configuration access point. So it's super simple to use. It's just a dip switch based. And let's say you're only going to be installing one panel, you know, on that remote location, have it on your main building. So basically the only thing that you have to do is push up one of the pins to make sure that you pretty much select which one's going to be your access point and which one's going to be your client. So your access point, it's going to be the one that it's going to have the pin, the number 1 pin up, and the other one, the one that you're going to have on the solar panel, you can leave all pins down. And that's all you have to do to configure your antennas when you're working with a solar solution. So super, super easy, super, you know, like nothing that it's going to take, you know, a lot of your time. It's just very simple to manipulate and to use. And it's going to give you a great transmission for your data. And then I'm going to jump a little bit onto another situation, the ones that I presented you before, we're using the point-to-point antennas. So now we're going to think about a complete remote location, right? Where there's no power, there's no near buildings that are going to be able to transmit the data. So for this type of scenarios, we have our 4G LTE cameras. And these 4G LTE cameras can be located pretty much anywhere. The company that we work with is T-Mobile. And it's just basically finding the coverage area of T-Mobile in the area where you're going to be wanting to set this up. And that's pretty much all you have to do. Your solar panel, this would be the case where you don't have to split that pigtail from the panel, because this camera, it's going to be the only piece of equipment that you're going to be installing to it. This camera takes 9.5 watts per hour. So multiplying it by 24, we get 228 watts a day, which is absolutely perfect to use it with our single panel. And like I said, I mean, you don't have to install another antenna or nothing. So this is just going to be it. Setting your panel up, plugging in your camera, putting the bracket to the camera so you can, install it in the position where you want to be looking at. And that is all you have to do. It's going to have its SIM card directly from a cellular card. And that is all you have to do. Just set it up on your phone and you're good to go. So this would be one of the cases. And then we have another camera, which is our 4G LTE PTZ camera. This camera takes 24 watts per hour. So if we multiply it by 24, it's going to give us 504 watts per day. So we immediately know that this is going to be good for the double panel. Same thing, you really don't need any much more of equipment for nothing. So it's just really about setting it up, plugging it in directly from the panel. It's going to have its SIM card and you're good to go. Just, you know, get in and access it. We normally, what we recommend, all of these cameras have an SD card slot. So it is recommended that you input put in the SIM card, an SD card in there. And so that way you can have your recordings in there. We can also help you with the calculation of how many days of recording will you be getting, depending on the different size of SD cards. We have a 64 gig, a 128 gig, and a 256 gig that you can, you know, select depending on what your customer wants or what you're offering to your customer. So this would be our two 4G LTE solutions for those completely remote locations. Like I mentioned, when there's no building or nothing to get data to that specific place. All right, and then we have another solution for the 4G LTE. This is our 4G LTE wireless router. So basically, there are situations where you need a couple of cameras and you also need that 4G LTE reception. So instead of setting two bullet cameras or two IPBTC or two 4G LTE BTC cameras, we can go back to the calculation and find out how many cameras can we set. I think the maximum amount of cameras that I've been able to work with along with this router have been 2 cameras, because this router requires a little bit more consumption than the point-to-point antennas. It's not so much of a big difference, but it's still a little different. So you could get your wireless router, set the SIM card on it, and install a couple more cameras and still make it work. Obviously, it's going to be with a double panel.
Ale, sorry to interrupt. So it really comes down to your signal. What signal do you have? But you could actually have multiple cameras, and it also is going to vary depending the resolution of the cameras, the frame rate, the compression. Now with the H.265, you know, at a good compression rate, you could actually put multiple cameras. We use these with our solar trailers, and sometimes these trailers have 4 or 6 cameras each, and you're able to see them all at a time perfectly, no problem. So I think that, you know, it again comes down to how strong your signal is, and what resolution your cameras are, what frames per second you program them to be and all that. But, you know, as I said before, some of these trailers are equipped with 6 4-megapixel cameras, 4 4-megapixel cameras, 5 megapixel cameras, and they are just fine. Now, also remember that when you're streaming substream. So normally, you know, when you access the camera, you could set the substream to D1, 7 frames per second, and that's even going to work out a lot better. So keep that in mind for whenever you're using these. And one more thing is that this router, it's an actual Wi-Fi router. So we sell it so that you could use it with our equipment, but this is also like a regular router for a house. So if you have a house that does not have any internet service, and you know you have cellular reception, which by the way, we only right now work with T-Mobile and Verizon. So if any of these 2 carriers cover that area, then you should be good to sell these as a 4G LTE router for the as a solution for like internet for your customer. Okay. All right, let you continue, Ale.
Yes, and just to mention for what Jorge just said about T-Mobile and Verizon, these two options are only available for the router. For the other two cameras, talking about with the panels, the 4G LTE Bullet and the PTC, we're still only able to work with T-Mobile. And yeah, when I was mentioning that, only a couple of cameras can be used with this router, I'm still talking about the panels. But of course, like he said, if you have power in a location where you want to install more cameras, this can be a perfect solution. So yeah, I mean, this one is it's a 12 volt DC. Can be powered with 12 volt DCs, but it also has a PoE injector that is 12 volt DC. So this is why this router is also, able to be used to with the solar panels. But yeah, I mean, definitely this can be a great option for you guys to use either with the solar panels or without the solar panels if there's power in your location, and you can use, multiple cameras. So basically, once again, it's always about the type of situation that you're in and what your customer's requesting, and we can always, work around and try to help you find the best solution for you and your customer. And then I'm going to move forward. Oops, right there. I'm just going to be showing you a little bit of the installation of the panels. Like I mentioned, they're super simple and super easy. Honestly speaking, it's not going to be something that's going to take you a lot of time. Like this is for the installation for the TD-SB35, which is our single panel. You're going to find on the box, this is going to be the main bracket. This top parts of, I'm sorry, as you can see on the main bracket, you're going to see your pigtail right there that, it's going to help you plug in your equipment. Right there on the middle part of the bracket, you're going to see this second image right here, which is the part that it's going to be used to fix the solar panel. Right here next, we're seeing the rear view of the panel. This is just how it looks. And on the following picture, we see how we use the 4 screws to fix the panel to the bracket. So that's basically all the assembly that you have to do for the single panel. Then once you have it assembled with the bracket and the panel, we just need to make sure that you adjust the panel to the proper angle to maximize the sunlight intake. And I'll show you in a little bit what is the best angle to make sure that we get the best performance of the panels. One following recommendation is to turn on the power before before installing the rest of the equipment. If you have an opportunity to setting it up before you install your cameras and the rest of your equipment to let it charge, that would be amazing. And one thing here is just when installing your panel, the power terminal should be under the solar panel to avoid a short circuit caused by rain flowing into the devices. We can make some power-proof measures and there at the interface to avoid the water flowing into the interface. So basically it's just right here, as you can see, just taking some precautions to make sure that the terminal is right under the panel so that it can be covered. All right, and then we're going to move on to the double panel, the TD-SB80. So on this one, you're gonna see a fixed crossbeam because obviously on this one, we're setting 2 panels right there. So we got a much bigger bracket right here. This is just showing you the bracket completely assembled. We're looking here again at the rear view of the panels and how they have to be installed, each of the panels to each side of the beam, the cross beam right here so that you can have them right here. And then we're just showing you here a couple of examples of installations or the brackets for the bullet camera right here. This bullet camera right here has a small bracket that you can just attach to the top part of the beam, or if you're installing the PTZ, you can attach it to the right below that little circle where you would normally install your bullet camera, okay? And then you can just connect your 12-volt DC power directly to the camera as it's showing right here. And that is basically all you have to do to assemble a double panel and the connections to the cameras. All right, and then we are moving, oops, my computer's very sensitive, sorry. Okay, and so this is just to show you the angle. The panel needs to be at 25-degree inclination, and always make sure that the panel is facing south. Why south? Because that is the place where the panel is going to take the most sun through the day. All right, so always make sure that your panel is at 25 degrees and facing south. It can be mounted on a pole, it can be mounted on a wall, really depends on the situation where you're at. Okay, so this again are only illustration purposes. This is basically a couple pictures of how we have them set up right outside of our office. This is the way that we needed the cameras to be looking at. The antennas were facing at our main building. But again, it all depends on how you want to set them up, or you know, the places where you want to be looking at. Here in this picture on the TD-SV80, we can actually see the NEMA box that Jorge was telling us about earlier. The battery pack, it's going to be on the right side. We recommend you to put the NEMA box on the opposite side. And there's where you can put all your connections and your network switch, or you know, the injector of the router if it's a case. But you can just enclose it right there, but right there below, up on the opposite side of the battery, below the panel, to kind of like cover it a little bit. So that's just basically how they look. All right. And then just wanted to show you a little bit of the microcontroller. This is just some of the indicators descriptions. So basically we're gonna have 3 different circles right here, as we can see on the illustration to the left. One's gonna be showing the charge, the other one's gonna be showing the battery, and the number 3, it's gonna be showing the load. So when there's sun, the solar panel has voltage output and the indicator will light in red. That's for the charge indicator. And number 2 for the battery. It's basically the battery level indicator. So when it flashes red, the battery power is at or less than 25%. If it's flashing red and green, alternately, the battery power it's higher or equal than 50%. And when it's flashing green, the battery is, you know, at 75% or more. And when it's steady green, your battery is working higher than 75%. So that's just an idea of how to monitor your battery life of the panel. And then on the number 3, we got the load. So this is the voltage output indicator. And this is when the controller has power output. This light, it's going to be green all the time. It's going to be a steady green. All right. Troubleshooting, there's going to be 3 indicator lights that are going to be flashing alternately with the sunlight. One is going to be the battery the battery cable's open, if there's no battery, or the battery is damaged. All right. And then the other one, it's going to be the first 2 lights right here. It's going to be showing the charge and the battery, and the load, it's off with sunlight. That means that your battery has either no power, or it's broken, or it's charging, or your controller is not working. So these are just, you know, some of the common signs that, or just for you to have an idea on how the controller works. All right. And now we're going to move on to the mobile tower unit. And I am going to let Jorge talk to us a little bit about this tower. Jorge, if you're there.
Yes, I'm here. I was just unmuting myself. So many of you may have seen these already. We have some of these outside in our McAllen office, and also we've brought this one to San Antonio, and we've toured around throughout Texas and some parts of Louisiana. This is a all-in-one unit. It's got its 300-watt panels, 3 of them pushing 900 watts of solar energy, right? And it's got also a big battery bank inside of the canopy there. I think they're 4 12-volt DC 200 amp batteries, right? And that pretty much could give you enough power to run these for a very, very long time without sunlight once they charge, right? Normally, we equip these with 4 or 6 cameras, but this could definitely be custom, tailor-made to your customer. We also use the 4G LTE router that Alejandra was talking about earlier, and basically, the unit will stay there by itself. We've sold many and have customers, talk to us and say that they've placed the units and pretty much forgot about maintenance and all that stuff. So it's really cool that you could basically also make this a one-man job, because the unit is so easy to deploy. It's got that 5th wheel in the front to maneuver the trailer, also the additional legs for stability. It's got a handbrake that you could pull, and the mast, it's electrical. So you could just get the remote out of the canopy and then press the button. The mast will go up all the way to 30 feet. The solar panels are very easy to pull out as well. They just have like a little safety lever there that you press, and then you can pull it out until you hear the click, so that the panel does not retract back. And also the tilting part of the panel, it's electrical, so you could just get another remote in the back of the unit and then just press the button, and then the panels will tilt a little bit to get to your desired position. Very strong, very well made. Could actually stand winds up to, I think it's about 100 kilometers per hour or somewhere in that area. It's very, very strong unit. It is also ready to tow. So it's got the connection, so you can plug it into the back of your car and then have the stoplights and the signals to match your cars. So it's a very, very nice, well built again product, ideal for construction companies, for police departments, car dealerships, so on and so forth. Or actually even some remote locations when
gas
you have
stations, maybe
companies with multiple different areas that sometimes they experience certain level of vandalism or insecurity, and they have to go and call the PD and wait until they have a good time to have some presence there. So with this, you could actually either sell these to the companies or listen to companies, right? So that you could have a piece of security system there to deter people from wrongdoing, right? So again, really nice piece of unit. Many of you may have seen it already. We have units available. We have about 6 units pretty much most of the time available, so that in case that you would like to buy this unit and deliver it tomorrow, we have it available. The unit also comes with a battery recharger outlet, so that I don't know if you can see it, but it's that little gray connector next to the lock of the canopy's door on the side of the unit. So you could just charge your batteries before deploying it, and then just expand your solar panels whenever you're on location, and then the unit is going to run completely on solar. I don't know if anybody has any questions regarding this. It's really nice unit, easy to deploy, very well made, solid, and easy again to handle by a single person. There it is. So electric winch, well, that electric winch is actually for the mast, so it's very strong. It's not going to give up at any time. And again, this is customizable. So we normally put the strobes on top and on the bottom of the unit so that they can be seen and deter people. But also we can customize it so that you could use it as with as many cameras as you may need. Also, another thing that we do is that we can put speakers on it so that you can talk through the camera and talk to the people that is right next to it to deter for doing something wrong, or just maybe to put some automated audio files. I think there was a question in the chat. Let me see. Does the trailer need license plates? Okay, so as per the Texas Department of Transportation, this unit does not need license plates because it's not meant for carrying anything on top of it, and it weighs less than 3,000 pounds. So with that said, we don't need a license plate for it. And I think that the best proof is the fact that, we've brought it all the way to Dallas, Houston, Austin, and even we brought it to Louisiana. And we've had some, state troopers on our back, and they've never stopped us. So I think that we should be fine. But no, for us per the Department of Transportation requirements, this does not need a license plate. Okay. Okay, Ale, you may want to go ahead, and I think that we're about to finish. You might just want to say something else here with your illustrations. But then we would like to open a little bit of time for Q's and A's. And Juan Carlos is also here with us today. So if you have more technical questions, hit him hard. All right.
Yes,
okay, Ale, continue.
I just wanted to show you here some of the illustrations. This was what I was talking about earlier. Just wanted to show you how we have it installed right outside of our building. Again, this is just illustration. This is just the way that we needed it to be, but it doesn't mean that it has to be specifically like that. So you can, install it the way that you need it, but we just wanted to share with you how it looks on the way that we have it. This is obviously the single panel. As you can see, we have one camera facing the front, the antenna on the side because it's looking to that building right there to get the data transmission. This is the same thing for the double panel. As you can see right here, we have one camera in the front and then one in the back. Like I was mentioning earlier, we have the battery exposed on the right side and then the NEMA box to the left. As you can see right there, all the connections are taken into the NEMA box for protection. And this is just how it looks. Same thing, we have both the single and the double panels, one right next to the other outside of our building. Oops. And this is just, an example of the different sites where you can use this solution set. Like Jorge was saying earlier, they really can be used pretty much anywhere. You can take it to oil rigs, parking lots, isolated communities, construction sites. Basically, really, it's just where you need it to be at. They're just, as we showed you, they're just so easy to use, to install, to assemble, and and they look super clean. I think they look really nice. They can give you, that look, let's say on parking lots or commercial plazas, they can give, that style look into your installation. So they can just pretty much be taken anywhere where you might need them. And yeah, I think this is all for the presentation. If you guys want to either type your questions on the chat or open your mics and, you know, ask any questions, this is the time. I see another question here from Daryl. On Solar Solutions 4G LTE, does the unit notify the client if the battery gets low or if there is an issue with the system?
No, currently it does not. But one of the things that we can do instead, Daryl, is that we could program notification from the actual camera that if there is power loss, it could notify your phone so that you know that if for some reason there is power loss, you could get notified. We're working on the the monitoring part of the solar panel so that we can implement it in the phone app and you guys can see the battery performance. But as of today, it won't tell you you're not able to see the battery until you go there physically and use the ICU.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No, thank you. Any other questions, guys?
Also, keep in mind that of course we're opening this Q&A session, but of course, if once we wrap this up, if you know, just get that question on your head that you had forgotten about, please always feel free to give us a call. We are happy to help you. It'll be me, Jorge, Terry, or you know, anybody in the company, the guys in tech support. We will always be happy to help you and assist you with any questions or concerns. And you know, we can help you with the design of this solution to get you the idea of the cameras that you need to use and all.